Okay. Now, I think affirmative action is a concept that I think is over for us, basically. I think the recent Supreme Court decisions have basically disemboweled affirmative action. So, but it's not even a term you ever hear anymore. So, how many of you have ever heard of affirmative action? How many thinks that maybe was it a good thing? Do you think it was a good thing? Well, I recently found myself defending affirmative action in a conversation with a coworker. And it happened kind of strange. We were talking, I don't really know how we got into the conversation. I think it came about, we were talking about UGA. And all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, she hits me with a familiar myth. And she said, well, if you applied at UGA, which is University of Georgia, and I applied at University of Georgia, you could get into University of Georgia before I could. And so because of affirmative action, she says. And I go, uh-oh. Well, I've heard this before. It's been a long time, though. But then, and I came back and I babbled something like, well, no, that's not really true. Affirmative action has helped a lot of African Americans get an education. She said, oh, it's not fair. It's not fair. Everything should be equal. End of conversation. And wow, right? I walked away from that like, what happened? I mean, how did that come up? I wasn't really so angry at what she said or the topic that she presented to me. I was angry at myself because just like playing a tennis match, she caught me flat-foot. I mean, somebody served the ball to me and I wasn't paying attention. I missed it. And so I walked away from that going like, wow. So it got me thinking. It got me thinking about affirmative action. We all know how valuable affirmative action has been. We know that, right? And I knew that too. And plus, I've lived the history. I've lived it. So, affirmative action. So let's go back and review. Affirmative action actually was created by J.F. Kennedy, right? He started affirmative action with an executive order. It was followed up by Lyndon B. Johnson, the Great Society program. He followed it up, and he also extended it to women. So affirmative action was key. Affirmative action was created, right, to end a culture that maintained inequity or inequality as a key concept. Now, a historian, I believe it's historian Roger Wilkins said it best. He said that black people have 375 years of history on this continent. 245 years involving slavery, 100 years involving discrimination, and 30 years involving something else. So we know that the culture, right, prevented us from education and, of course, jobs. We were limited to certain jobs and our educational opportunities. So, and that system, right, we know as Jim Crow. Now, I had a conversation with another co-worker and I said something about Jim Crow and she's like, well, who is that? So I got to thinking about that, and so I came back with, I thought about that. Should I explain Jim Crow to her? Well, so I said, well, you know who Jack Daniels is, right? Jim Crow was his cousin. So let's go back to my conversation. Let's redo that conversation. And so, and we're gonna, so let me, I'm gonna bombast somebody in here, 20-something, somebody in here. So, Talicia.
33.
33.
But I'll take it.
Now, going back to the conversation I had with my coworker, I thought about, well, how can I address what she said to me about that? So I say, so you think affirmative action was unfair to you? Just, because a few slots that they gave to African Americans, that was unfair to you at UGA. Well, I think you're wrong. It was more unfair to me. But, as an African American, I'm used to the inequality. Let's go back to your hypothetical, all things being equal. Let's suppose that UGA can accept 300,000 students. 15,000 of those students are African American, and 15,000 of them are Anglo or other. And the UGA has decided that they're only going to accept 10% of African American students. Well, that's their target. Right? So that means that they will accept 3,000 African Americans and 27,000 of Anglo or other. They're going to exclude 27,000 African Americans and 3,000 Anglo or other. You happen to be one of those 3,000 excluded. So, and you think that you should have one of the positions for that that was for the African Americans? No, that was not fair. So the system was not fair. But we'll take it. Considering all things being equal, we know that all things are not equal. That real world, if they were to accept all things equal, 15,000 African Americans applying to UGA versus 15,000 Anglo applying to UGA, all things equal, then they should have 15,000 African Americans on campus and 15,000 Anglos on campus, not 3,000 and 27,000. So that was the argument that I would present. 50 years later, we know that 50 years later, things are different. Affirmative action made a difference. We have Barack Obama as President of the United States. An accomplishment. Don't get too comfortable. Those Jim Crow ideas are still around. So unemployment among African Americans is twice that of the national average. But we're going to keep on trucking. And one day all things will be equal. Thank you very much.